So welcome along to A Story to Tell with me, Richard Beauvoisin. This is mainly taken from my Radio Bath show every Thursday morning from 10 until 12. If you do like it, don't forget to subscribe, share it to others, and let everyone know all about Radio Bath. Hope you enjoy it.
I fell apart. I had enough of my demons. But angels only meet you where you are. And I'm in the dark. At least for now, Lord, I ain't losing hope. That somehow you can make a heart of gold from this heart of stone.
Now, I reckon if I gave you £1 million, you'd never, ever, without the use of Shazam, know who that was.
This heart of stone.
You're thinking to yourself, aren't you, who's done Heart of Stone? Well, it's that well-known band, Jelly Roll.
Waking, I'm dreaming.
I did this on stage the other day. I had a song that came up, and I was like, I wonder if anybody guesses this. And I said to them, if anybody does guess this, you're going to get free entry to the venue for the next, few weeks or so. And needless to say, nobody got it because it was something like Penguin and Pigeon or something like that. I know. Gerald's still here. Hello, Gerald.
Hello, Richard.
Hello.
It's strange being in this side of the room.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have interviewed you before, haven't I, over there?
Yeah.
We did our list and all that.
We
must
did.
revisit that in the new year, actually.
We must.
We must do that. To see
How long
you're
will you give
getting on.
me?
Oh, I'll give you at least 4 seconds.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
okay,
You don't deserve 6 minutes. You really don't. Anyway, it's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. Just leave the mic live. And my guest today is a lady called Susan Heaton-Wright. She is a communicator. She's a communication expert. And we're going to be talking all about how to present, the fact that she was an opera singer, and AI, how it all works. A superstar communicator, lots of going on. So if you want to know anything about communicating, how to speak in public, in private, on videos, all of that, then if you have any questions for her, then you can text Bath followed by a message to 80011, or you can email studio@radiobath.com. She's coming up right after this. Haven't heard that song in ages. It's Gangster's Paradise by Coolio and LV, whoever LV may be. I kind of don't want to interrupt. Good morning, everybody. So it's Richard Beauvoisin here on Radio Bath, here till midday today. My guest, who hopefully can hear me and we'll be able to hear her, is Susan Heaton-Wright. Can we hear you, Susan?
Absolutely,
There
and
you
I can
go.
hear you too.
Lovely. And you've got a good microphone, if I'm honest with you, because Zoom's sometimes a bit kind of naff.
Yeah, I've got this microphone.
Oh, okay. What's that?
It's
Tell me about this.
Blue Ice.
Because I need a new microphone, if I'm honest. 'Cause I don't like seeing the microphones on. I have a lapel one. I have a head mic which I use sometimes. But I think they're all a bit just average. So what's that? Bring it in camera again for me.
It's a Blue Ice,
Blue Ice. Okay.
and I've got it attached to a sort of stand.
Yeah. Okay. I might look at getting one of those. Sounds really good.
Yes.
Anyway.
It served me well.
It has served you well. Anyway, so I'm going to do your very quick Desert Island Discs intro, okay, which I personally write via AI myself, okay? So, today on A Story to Tell, we're joined by Susan Heaton-Wright, an opera singer turned communication expert who has spent a career proving that projecting your voice isn't just for the stage. She's helped leaders speak with confidence, survive Zoom calls, and even look like they're meant to unmute themselves. Her journey's full of reinvention, humour, and a few high notes along the way.
Oh, I see what you did.
See, down there for dancing, I'm a dancer normally, you see, up here for thinking, and now I'm talking, of course, as well. But how are you today?
I'm very well and very excited about meeting you and having some great conversations.
Yeah, I'm really excited today. It's obviously for myself, I present all the time, so I'm really intrigued to see not necessarily an he says, getting his teeth out. An analysis. That's never easy to say. An analysis, is it?
No.
An analysis of how I'm doing. But I'm always interested in getting tips and tricks and seeing how anybody can do anything better. So yeah. But you started off. Let's find out a bit about you to start with. You've started off as an opera singer. How did that all come about then?
Well, in fact, I didn't start as an
Oh, go
opera
on,
singer. That's a story in itself. I was, quite quiet. I'm a natural introvert and very much underestimated. And I'll tell you the story about school.
Go on then.
I was at a very academic, selective girls' school, and they didn't want me to apply for university. They said, you're not bright enough, even though I was getting the grades in exams and things. So that my plan was to go to university to study geography, and I wanted to see the world. And I'd already planned to go to different countries teaching.
Okay.
Which was a safe way, pre-mobile phone, to do that as a woman. And I stole a UCAS form and completed it myself and went to the headmistress, who was formidable. These headmistresses in the 70s and 80s were formidable women. And she backed me up, and I ended up at a top university. And the reason why I do what I do now is literally because I don't want anybody else to be underestimated, because I know how that feels. And that should never have happened. But reflecting on me at the time, I now know that I wasn't demonstrating those things that gave reassurance to my teachers that I could achieve.
So even though inside you were going, I'm capable of all of this,
yes.
Outside what you were portraying is actually, I'm not that good.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And how did that feel, kind of looking back then at that, going, I was this type of person but didn't show it then?
That was the norm for me. I was brought up not to show off. I was brought up not, basically to be invisible. That's a whole other story. And within a context of a very competitive school, that's not going to work, because you are going to be invisible. You are going to be overlooked. And yeah, looking back, I feel quite sad for my teenage self that I was like that, but I didn't know any different.
It's really difficult, isn't it? So I'm a judge for our dancing. And
yes.
At the weekend we had one of the competitions, and I was one of the judges. And I've said to a few people how I judged regarding my scores compared to everybody else's, and it's one of those weird ones. And I kind of want to say, look, people placed 1 through to 6, and in the final I put them 1 through to 6. Rather than my 6th place came first and all of that. But
yes.
I've had people look at me going, well, you're just showing off. But am I not just kind of promoting myself a little bit, saying, hello, everyone, I'm actually not that bad at what I do?
Absolutely. And I mean, there is a fine line. We all know people who really have no awareness about that it's me all the time. But you need to let people know what you do. You need to know why you're there, what value you bring. Otherwise, people are going to underestimate you. And although this isn't about women in leadership or other underrepresented groups, there is unconscious bias. So as a woman or an member of an underrepresented group, we've got to remind people a little bit more. And if you've had that message that you mustn't show off, that's contrary to it. So one of the things I really talk about is making sure that you're demonstrating your credibility, your value.
So do you feel you have to fight a bit harder then?
Not now. I'm old in the tooth now, although every so often you get surprised by a comment or a situation. You think, really, this is 2025? But yeah, you need to be aware of that.
Okay, so
everybody does, because we all have biases. We all have unconscious bias. It might be that I promote another woman when in fact that might have been my bias, and the best person, respectfully, was a white middle-aged bloke.
Yeah, there's nothing like being a white middle-aged bloke. For those that aren't aware, I am that white middle-aged bloke.
And I'm married to a white middle-aged bloke.
We're not that
I
bad.
love white middle-aged blokes. But that is typically the group that people moan about. And I think that it's really, really unfair. We have to be aware that might be a bias in itself.
having diversity in whatever you do is essential.
Yes.
You go back to, I'm not really sure why we're going down this line necessarily right now, but we are. If you go back to 9/11 and for the, in America, they had a load of white middle-aged blokes not really understanding that a man in a cave was quite threatening.
Yeah.
And they just didn't realise that. And if they'd have had more diversity in the room at that point, they would have realised that wasn't the right way to go forwards.
Yeah.
So, okay, so which university did you go to then?
I went to Durham University.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, my wife went there.
Did she?
She did.
Oh, if we were meeting, the first thing we'd say was, which college did you go to?
There you go. And I would love to tell you that I knew the answer. And of course, I've listened to her talk about it many, many times. She doesn't actually talk about it that much. She talks about, she had very fond memories of it, but she studied Japanese there.
Did she?
Yeah, I know.
Incredible.
Yeah, of all the things to study at university, Japanese. But yeah, no, she's and she's from Torquay originally, so popping home was quite challenging.
Yes.
It's a long old way. It really is a long old way. So you've been to university then. Let's carry on with your story. What happened next?
Well, I went, I fulfilled my vision. So I went and taught out in Kenya.
Okay.
It's something that I don't talk about very much, but I will swiftly move on from, unfortunately, I had a very serious accident where there were a bit late at night. Now, there are no mobile phones, no street lights or anything else. And by chance, and this is a real sliding door moment, we were found by somebody who was driving. We were in a very remote lane, and this driver decided to go down that route late at night and found us and took us to a little tiny hospital that was part of a church, and they found a pulse on me, and I had multiple injuries, but it changes your perspective on life.
It does. I mean, I've been to Tanzania before, and when you say remote, I don't think people can, if you haven't been to that part of the world, you can quite understand what remote actually means.
Yes.
There is literally nobody. Sometimes I remember looking around at one point thinking, there's not another human being within probably 100 miles of me right now.
Yes. Yeah. So it really was a sliding door moment.
Yeah, and it makes you appreciate life.
Yes, it does. And I had multiple injuries, so I had, crushed vertebrae, I had a head injury, ribs, those sorts of things. And it changed my perspective. I went out to India afterwards when I'd recovered about a year and a half later to do some teaching in a mission school, but that was for a short period of time, and I actually met the Dalai Lama there.
Did you?
Because as one does,
of course.
It was late in Ladakh, and it was a mission school for refugees coming over from Tibet, and he was visiting, so that was amazing. But by that time, someone had suggested I went and auditioned for a choir. Now, I'd always sung in choirs. I from a young age, but I was told to sing alto because I had a loud voice, and I played violin and all of those things and orchestras. But I walked into the audition, and my TEDx talk is about this. Okay. That I sang, and the conductor stopped me, and I thought, oh God, here we go.
Simon Cowell moment.
Yes, yeah, it really was. And he said, you've got a remarkable voice. I genuinely believe you should go and get it trained. See where it takes you.
Well, do you know where it's going to take us? It's going to take us to the next section, because it's time for some music. And we're going to leave it as a cliffhanger right there and find out what happened next. Now, you've chosen the next track, which is Tina Turner, The Best. Why this track?
I love it. It's very positive, isn't it? And we're all the best. We're all unique, aren't we?
We are.
We've all
indeed.
got skills. We've all got life experience, and we've all got something to give the world, and we're simply the best.
Here we go.
I call you, I need you, my heart's on fire. You come to me wild and wild. You come to me, give me everything I need. Give me a lifetime of promises and a world of dreams.
Back for the next part now. It's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today with Susan Heaton-Wright. She is... What would you like? What do you actually call yourself, Susan? I've got you written down here as a communicator.
I think a communications expert, maybe presence impact expert.
Okay, expert. As long as
You all
expert.
know that from dancing, that, you know, if you've got presence, if you've got impact, the non-verbal communication is so powerful, isn't it?
It is. And this is the strange thing. I was chatting to somebody the other day about my voice on radio. And they were like, oh,
Yes.
you've got a real voice for radio. And I'm like, oh, that's very kind. I said, and the reason for it is it's an incredibly descriptive voice. Because obviously on
Yes.
radio, you don't actually have any visual clues whatsoever. You just hear my voice.
Absolutely. And it's clear you don't speak too fast.
I do remember, so back in the day, many, many years ago,
Back in the day.
I used to be on hospital radio, and I used to record it every week and then play it out in my local club. And when I say club, it's not as in a nightclub. It wasn't really the scene for it. It was a social club. And I remember I literally sounded like Murray Walker. I was speaking so high. So welcome along, everybody. And I was really, really quick. And yeah, as you mature and get used to what you're doing, obviously you learn how to slow down.
Yeah, and your larynx relaxes, so your natural voice comes out.
Yeah.
Rather than this voice here.
Yes, absolutely, and it's something which I was doing the at Bath Rec recently, the rugby ground. They have their fireworks, and I was doing most of the emceeing for it, and I was doing the countdown, and my children were there, which I didn't know they were there. When I say children, they're adults now, and yeah, and they were like, they didn't realise I was doing it, and my daughter said, "That's Dad's stage voice." Because you kind of go into not quite a presenting voice, but you don't have your normal, conversational voice when you're presenting or anything like that. It is slightly different. So you go into a slightly different octave.
Yeah, and that's fine.
But not the weirdest experience I've had, which I've said on this programme a few times, is I went to have an interview with somebody once. Excuse me. And she was on the radio and she was talking to me just like this. And then she went online and she opened up the microphone and she went, "Hello, Richard." And I was like, "Oh, who's this?" And it really, really threw me. I still remember it now, thinking, make sure you never do that, Richard. Ever. You're just going to be yourself.
Hilarious.
Anyway, back to your story. So you've now gone into the wonderful world of Europe and you're thinking, I'll sing, but Simon Cowell has stopped you and said, no, don't sing like that. How are you meant to sing then?
Well, my maestro said to me, you really should go and get it trained. And so I found a singing teacher and started singing, and then was being asked to do little solos in local events and things. And then I started auditioning for Amdram things as a chorister. But whenever they heard me, they said, well, we've got a part for you.
Okay.
To the point that, which was absolutely lovely and very throwing, considering the character I was that didn't want to show off, didn't want to be centre stage. There's all of that going on. And then I auditioned for, there was an exchange with a company in the United States, in New York, and they were putting on an off-Broadway show of The Pajama Game. And so I auditioned for the chorus again.
Was that your American accent, by the way?
Yes.
It's very good.
I know, it's not very good.
It's very good. Pajama Game.
And they gave me the lead.
Okay.
Much to my... And my teacher, I said, what do I do? And he said, if you're offered an opportunity like that, you don't turn it down. And I've always remembered that. Because it would have been easy to say and listen to your little voice saying, you're going to make an absolute hash of it. Looking back, it wasn't my best work, but then it was very early on. I hadn't even been to music college at that stage.
Okay.
You know, let's be honest, but I learned a massive amount, particularly from the Americans and their work ethic.
In what way?
And sorry?
In what way, their work ethic?
They were very, very focused, whereas, you know, remember this was the Amdram world in United Kingdom, and a huge respect for people that have full-time jobs and then they perform in the evening, performing their passion. But this was almost like a job for them. It was a different level. They took it extremely seriously. And great to see. And then I came back and I realised that my voice was developing into a more classical voice. I love music theatre, and music theatre in those days was very different from now, when everybody uses a sort of twang voice and everybody's very similar. And there's also a lot more dance because everybody dances now. That wasn't the case 20, 30 years ago, was it?
So you're not a dancer then?
Yeah, you'd have dance troupe that would come in to do particular things. And so I was then focused on a more classical route, and was invited to get my equity card, because equity cards at the time were still quite difficult to get, by doing a tour of an adult panto.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't get most of the jokes for the entire run, which was 6 months at weekends. I mean, honestly, I had to have them explained to me, some of them. But the people that ran it, I learnt so much. You know, 2 drag artists that were brilliant, and their work ethic, and, you know, just how you perform, how you pace yourself. Because, you know, if you're touring around every weekend, Friday night, Saturday, sometimes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, matinees as well, you can really get exhausted.
Yeah.
You have to go on stage if you're feeling ill, all of those things.
And this is the thing I think that people forget, you know, so I'm on stage most nights, is that it doesn't matter what sort of day you've had. People have paid their money and they expect to see Robbie Williams up on stage entertaining them, whoever you
Absolutely.
are. And that can be incredibly difficult. It's a privilege to be on stage. I always say that.
I agree.
For people to say, you know, pay their money and come and see you doing your stuff. But sometimes it's hard.
It's very hard. And don't get me wrong, if somebody has got vocal damage, bless her, Adele had problems. I think there are a number of singers that have had problems. You have got to stop and you've got to rest the voice, but you've got to look after yourself as well. And that includes, you know, resting beforehand, taking plenty of fluids, having a really solid vocal technique. And you will see that for dancing as well, won't you?
Of course.
I mean, you know, there are injuries that you have, some of them no fault of your own, it's the situation, but you've got to look after yourself with what you eat, how you rest, how you work out your schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently quite injured, so...
Are you?
I am, yeah. I've been carrying a lot of injuries for quite some time, and that's why I was just saying to Gerald before that, I'm to some degree taking a step back from the teaching, because I've turned 50 now, or 51 now, and my body, after 26 years of doing it, is saying, do you know what? You're getting towards the end, mate. And that's quite hard to take, but at the same time,
very difficult.
It's the right thing to do for everybody. And it's not that I'll stop dancing or stop teaching or anything, but there's only so much that I can do. So you've now going to train to become an opera singer.
Yeah. So I in the opera mag, I don't know where it was that I saw it. It said that there was a course, an opera postgrad course that was starting at the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire, And because I was slightly older, because it wasn't until 23 that I started singing lessons and even did solos. So I was a more mature student. And so I applied an audition and they gave me a scholarship. And I studied there for 2 years, which was absolutely fantastic. There were some wonderful people there. Not just the tutors, but also some of the other singers and musicians, getting so much inspiration from them all. What a privilege it was. And then I applied to the Italian government. They had some scholarships to study out in Italy. And I was awarded one of those, which again was a huge privilege. And so I was in Perugia for 4 months, learning the language, and also at the Conservatorio, studying with Maestro Stabatini.
Of course.
And it was all in Italian. I half the time I was thinking, what's going on? But you sink or swim in those situations.
Yeah, I definitely would have fallen to the bottom in that scenario. Languages is something which I personally struggle with quite a lot.
I find languages very difficult. I can learn the words and I can pronounce. I've got a good ear, but I can't process when people talk to me. I can't process what they're saying and then for me to reply.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a challenge, but there you go.
It is indeed. Well, we're going to find out more about actually what you were like as an opera singer after the next little bit. So it's time for Eye of the Tiger and Survivor. Why this track?
This reminds me, when I was back in Kenya at Christmas, there was a band, and it was white lads that had come home probably from the United Kingdom, and they had a band, and I remember them playing this on the beach in the evening and everybody dancing, and it was just such a joyous moment.
Brilliant. Back with Susan right after this.
Rising up, back on the street. Did my time, took my chances. Went the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive.
Back for the next part now with Susan Heaton-Wright. My name's Richard Beauvoisin, here until midday today on Radio Bath. We've been catching up with her story. She's a superstar communicator, but we're currently finding out all about her opera story. So tell me more. What happened next, Susan?
Well, I went to music college, and obviously I'd been told I'd got this lovely voice. I had played violin from a young age and been in choirs, so I had a music background. But there were a couple of things that I found out quite quickly, and that was that it could be ruthless at times, but you have to own the space. It's not good enough to say, oh, well, she's got a nice voice, she's centre stage. You've got to own it and in some ways demonstrate how good you are, that you deserve to be there. And that's really going back to that teenage version of me, that I had to address that I had to show them that I was good enough.
So I
to have the lead roles.
I train a lot of new teachers. Part of my role
Yes.
is that the new teachers come in and I train them up to be dance teachers. And one of the things they often say is they suffer quite a lot with imposter syndrome.
Yes.
So how did you feel regarding that thing? And explain it for the people that don't know what imposter syndrome is.
So imposter syndrome is when you think that you're not in the right place because everybody else you perceive as being better than you, and that they deserve to be there and perhaps you don't be. at that time, that wasn't a name. It wasn't a named thing, and you just kept quiet about it. One of my speaker friends has recently written a book called, instead of imposter syndrome, effect, or because we all have it. It's the fear of the unknown that will make a fool of ourselves, that we aren't good enough. But what I always do now is that I thank that little voice, because it's always a little voice in your head, isn't it? Thank it and say, it's okay. I'm not in danger. I'm going to do the best I can. Nothing's going to happen to me by being here. I'll show the best that I can be.
Yeah, one of the things I keep saying at the moment when people, there's a variety of things and it doesn't go right. And I have this basic principle that I keep saying, and I need to find a different way of saying it, because I always go, well, nobody's died.
Exactly.
But then somebody said to me, and it was their idea, not mine, I'd like to point this out, and they said to me, the trouble is, Richard, what if somebody has died?
Yeah.
And then they said, well, I know what you can do. Just simply say, at least 2 people haven't died. But apparently that's quite insensitive. I've been told that from other people that know much more about empathy than me, that just saying at least 2 people haven't died isn't the right thing to say at that point. But there we go. But so nobody's died.
But don't you find that in dance, in opera, those art forms, there's a focus on what you get wrong rather than what you get right? And that was something... I didn't learn it when I was at music college, because I would come off stage on occasion think, well, I got that wrong, rather than, the audience are applauding, they've loved it.
Yeah.
And certainly the one thing, there was a recital that I was doing at college, and my music teacher ran round as I walked off stage, waving a piece of paper and said, there were 32 things you got wrong there. Here you are. Bye-bye, I've got a train to catch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a different philosophy in our dance world, actually, in that, because that's people's main fear, is when they go dancing or do something, whatever it may be, opera singing, whatever it is, that you're going to go wrong all the time.
Yes.
And we have a different philosophy. And actually, the class always chants it out to me when I ask them this question. But I always say, you can't go wrong. It's and I leave it open. And everyone shouts back to me, a variation.
Yes.
And I still love that.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's something that I always say to my clients, whether they are speaking or in a meeting or pitching, that go out afterwards, because your adrenaline drops. You're in a very vulnerable emotional state. Go and get a cup of tea. Go and walk round. And then when you've calmed down, you can reflect and really think on the good things that happened, and maybe 1 or 2 things you'll change next time.
It's always good to analyse. There's no problem with that. But actually,
definitely
pat yourself on the back. I still go back to I remember one of the key things that changed for me is actually listening to an Andy Murray, the tennis player, interview. It was semi-finals at Wimbledon. I think it's the year that he won. And they turned around and said, how was the semi-final for you? And he started listing off all of the things that he'd done well. And I was like, well, that's really un-British. Really un-British. Yeah. And then at the end, he then said, and my serve needed to be tightened up here and I needed to vary that bit there. But it was just completely analytical. It wasn't, hey, look at me. It was just, actually, I've done all of these things really, really well. And I love that. And I think as British people, we don't do that enough.
We don't. And in fact, when I left music college, I did a course with a sports psychologist who'd started to specialise in opera singers. Didn't last very long. She realised how difficult that market was.
Yeah, sounds tough.
Yeah. But she had worked with the GB team for the Olympics and things like that on exactly that. Having a number of things you're focused on before a performance, whether it's a game, a match like Andy Murray, and focus on those things that went well, and 1 or 2 things you'll work on next time. And it is a much better approach.
Absolutely. Now, going on to your opera then, last part on that, it's probably the most classic question in the world, but what was kind of like your favourite memory from being an opera singer?
It's really difficult. There are so many.
Yeah.
But I still think going back to Durham Town, man.
I can't do a Geordie accent. I can do loads of accents. I really struggle with the Geordie one. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I need to be around them more, I think. That's what it is.
But I was invited to sing the soprano solo in a performance of The Messiah at the cathedral. And I always remember singing, I Know That My Redeemer Liveth. And at the end, 2,500 people going,
Yeah.
What a privilege.
No, that's lovely. And how do you feel? Because opera's very divisive in that you've got some that just think it's the best thing in the world and others that go, I don't get it.
Yeah, and that's absolutely fine. We all have a right to like what we like. And it isn't for everybody, but it is a fantastic art form. Trouble is that it is very expensive to put on.
It is. Now, last track before the news, Dolly Parton's version of I Will Always Love You. Why this one then?
I love Dolly. She is a fantastic musician, songwriter and human being, because she does so much for charity. And this version, you can hear the pathos in her voice. It is utterly beautiful. Enjoy.
We will. Back with Susan after the news.
If I should stay, I would only be in your way, so I'll go. But I know I'll think of you each step of the way.
Kind of goes somewhere else now, doesn't it? It's the extra bit. We're just going to talk over it. Morning, Susan.
Hello.
There we go.
That's triggering me. I love the last bit.
Do you? Okay, so would you like to listen to it?
No, it's fine.
No, you sure? Hang on. It just rambles on like this for about a minute, I think. We could use it as a bed.
Then it ends up with that lovely last note.
Does it? Well, we'll leave it on in the background for us, just while it's rambling on, and we can just talk over it, you see. It's the wonderful world of volume controls is that we can just make it kind of go louder and quieter as we deem. It's known as a bed in the industry, something you lay on. So, there you go. Anyway, it's Richard Beauvoisin here until midday today. I'm here with Susan Heaton-Wright. If you've missed any of this, then you can catch up via the podcast, which will be released later on today. Type in Radio Bath to any podcast provider, and it will come up, and we'll share it around to everyone as well. We're getting close to the last note. Beautiful. We haven't heard you sing yet. I've realised that. Are you going to give us any singing today? It's one of the questions in the quick fire round, just to pre-warn you.
I bet.
Yeah, it has to be one of the fire. Yeah, so we'll figure it out. Anyway, we've been talking so far all about Susan's journey, about being at school and being an opera singer and learning how to kind of come out of her shell a little bit. We're now going to learn about the Superstar Communicator, which is what you do now. So
Absolutely.
Tell us, what is the Superstar? And I love the fact that even when I've got it written down here, it's got a trademark next to it.
Absolutely.
So you've trademarked Superstar Communicator. What is it, Susan?
This is all about empowering individuals and teams to present the best version of themselves in all business conversations. So it could be everything from being on a podcast like we're here now, pitching for an idea or for funding, being in a discussion panel at a conference, or being a keynote speaker, presenting ideas, even meetings. even a one-to-one conversation.
Okay, and what would you say, just not wishing to go down the negative route initially, but what would you say most people's biggest pitfall is when they're doing any of those? Is there one commonality?
That they don't necessarily consider the purpose, the why they're doing that. And they're thinking about what they're going to say, but what's the purpose? What outcome do you want? Is it relevant to the person you're speaking to?
Okay. In what way? Develop it more for me.
For example, there might be somebody who is going to present an idea at a meeting. For example, if we use that as an example, and they're only thinking of themselves and what they're going to say, rather than what will be of value to the people in the room, so that they could, for example, make a decision. And if it's all me, and my perspective without considering everybody else's, that impact is going to, just going to fall. People are going to grab their phones. They're going to be distracted. They'll be bored. They'll think, why should I bother to listen?
Okay.
There's no value to me.
So it's all about figuring out what the other people want when you are speaking.
Possibly. If we go down the meeting route, I would imagine that there has been some sort of agenda. Whether it is that they are specific, by the end of this session we want to make a decision on this particular case, or we're going to discuss this and this. Therefore, if you put that preparation in and seen who else is in the room, you will be able to tailor it to those people so that it's relevant to them.
Okay, now I'm very much known on this radio show for interviewing lots of people, and I've had incredible pleasure of interviewing so many experts in their field, of which of course you are one of them, and purely hijacking it to learn myself and make myself better live on air. And
Brilliant.
This is another of those occasions which I'd like to think about. It's also another reason, but we'll go in a different way. Now, let's imagine that I'm a fairly new charity auctioneer. Okay, and I have a particular style when I go up and do my charity auctioneering. There's loads of different ways of doing it. My personal way of doing it is I like to walk around the room. I'm not somebody that will stand up on a podium and talk to everybody and observe the room. I know there is that way of doing it. I personally struggle to do it that way. So I like to walk around and have interactions with people. But knowing that I'm on microphone and I've got to talk to a lot of people and do that, what would be your kind of best tips on how to do that then?
Well, if we get through to the fact that a charity auction is probably going to be towards the end of the evening, so people have had a drink.
Yeah, they're drunk. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's in your favour in a way, because everybody's relaxed, we hope. Be respectful to them. You might want to find out who's going to be in the audience. It could be that there is a guest list, and you find out key people that you could have a fabulous little conversation with and be cheeky with them. And they will help you to raise the atmosphere, the positive atmosphere in the room. So if you've got somebody that you know is possibly not very keen on being in the spotlight, not keen on having the microphone thrust into their face, it could really damage the evening. So if you've got that, there are 5-6 people, or perhaps if you had a chat with the person organising it, they will know those people that will be brilliant to have on your side that could raise the game.
Good. I'm pleased you said that. I already do that. So I'm
Good.
very pleased that is something which I should be doing, which is good. And what other best practices would you suggest?
Don't swear, or don't be disrespectful to the audience. And I do have a story about Greg Wallace.
Oh, tell me a story about Greg Wallace. Hopefully it's broadcastable.
Yes, I won't use any naughty words.
That's okay.
He, one of my friends was a general manager of a hotel in Surrey, and he had recently joined and decided to get all of the people working in the hotel as a team effort to create an event for charity and for Halloween. And they brought in Greg Wallace to be the auctioneer. And everything was going really well. The food was great, the decor, everything. It was wonderful. And Mr. Wallace had drunk a significant amount beforehand. And there were a lot of people in the audience that were old money from Surrey. Okay. And the first thing he said was, turning to all of the women, very rude words, get your purses out and start paying good money. And you could see the car crash going in real time, and what should have been £20,000-30,000 for two very worthwhile charities was £4,000 that was raised. It was terrible.
And, do you know, I love doing charity auctioneering, and if you know of anyone, then please do feel free to put my name forward, because it's an amazing job to do, because you are. Charity auctioneers get paid. There's no secret about that, because it's it's a proper skill to do the job.
Yes, absolutely.
My mentor, Johnny Gould, who's another presenter on this station, is world class at it, and he's worth every penny that anybody would ever pay him. And I'm, following in his footsteps to some degree, and he's given me a lot of help, which has been very, very kind of him. But yeah, the principle is that you get paid and you're raising money for charity. Yes. And it's just like a win-win for everybody. So to hear a story like that, I kind of want to just come along, and if I could redo the night, I'd do it for free type thing.
Oh, absolutely. And it was heartbreaking. You could see the faces of the representatives from those two charities, as well as my friend, the GM, and all of the people the staff, because they had worked so hard on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you are presenting, then, so I imagine myself, I do lots of different presenting. I'm up on stage, I do the charity auctioneering, I also do the radio and a variety of other bits and pieces as well. I'm doing Christmas lights turn on tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Doing the countdown for that, and and it's lovely. I do lots of presenting. I'm very fortunate that people ask me to do all of these different things. When somebody's standing up, though, what tips would you have for how somebody would stand? Because I was talking to somebody earlier on who does presenting, and they've been given advice to kind of fold their arms across their waist or keep everything tucked in, and another person had given the advice to kind of just gesticulate all the time and kind of go Muppet crazy. Where would you stand on how you should stand?
Well, first of all, I have a technique for standing which I call diva feet.
Okay.
And a previous guest, Chantal Cornelius, she always messages me after she's spoken saying, well, it was diva feet all the way. It's great. And it's a method where you have your feet hip width apart and the weight evenly distributed on both of your feet, the balls of your feet and the heels. And you put the weight on there. You're not going to stand like that for the entire time, but that's a neutral position. And it gets rid of the tension in your shoulders and your neck. From a point of view of gesticulating, I hate it when people say that you can't use your hands. It is in our DNA that we use our hands as part of our non-verbal communication.
And for the benefit of the tape, Susan was using her hands right throughout all of that.
Exactly. And as you do. And you know that in dance, you use your hands. That is part of the whole process. Now, obviously, if you're doing all this, you are distracting your audience from what you're saying. And you look, bit of an idiot, to be honest. However, if you are using your hands, you're emphasizing certain things. There are lots of things you can do. When you're doing that countdown with me, you'll go 5, 4. No doubt you'll use your fingers. The audience will pick up on that.
Yeah.
And also, when you're speaking, if you're 5, there's a slight pause between each one. And it's almost emphasizing it, making it easier for the audience to understand.
It's all about completing the words, isn't it?
It is. It's about matching what you say with how you say it, and that does include hand gestures.
Well, I'd love to hear, after the next bit of music, what you think of President Obama. We're going to go down his route and we'll chat about it to figure out what works on that. You've chosen Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. Why this track?
This is an ultimate bop. I know that your lovely wife and I went to the same university, and one of the things was at college, all of the colleges would have a bop. And we would go on a Friday night, my friends and I, and literally just bop the night away. It wasn't about picking up boys or anything else. It was the joy of bopping to fabulous music like this.
There you go. Right, back with Susan right after this.
Clock strikes upon the hour and the sun begins to fade. Still enough time to figure out how to chase my blues away. I'm gonna ride up till now. It's the light of day that shows me how. And when the night falls, loneliness comes. Oh, I wanna dance with somebody. I wanna feel the heat with somebody. Yeah, I wanna dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me. Oh, I wanna dance with somebody.
Nearly Christmas time, isn't it? Blimey, it's Richard Beauvoisin here on Radio Bath until midday today. Susan Heaton-Wright is my guest. Why have you got the double barrel, by the way? Is it... Oh, hang on a sec. Do you know, it really helps if I turn your volume up. Go on, say that again.
Equity.
Okay.
So my real name is Susan Wright, and the office at Equity said, "Oh, your name, Susan Wright, is an overseas exotic dancer." He. So I needed to look at other names. So I tried Susan Simon, because that's my married name. But Susanna Simons, the broadcaster at the time, she objected because it was similar to her name. So Heaton is my grandma's maiden name.
Oh, there you go. It
There you
sounds
go.
lovely. Susan Heaton-Wright.
It really bounces, doesn't it?
It does.
It really works.
Yeah, not like Anne Anomaly or whatever it was I said earlier
Oh.
that I couldn't say the words and now can't even remember what they were, so it's going
Yes.
well. Right, now going back to being a superstar communicator then, so how do you actually help people? Because you're not based in Bath, but you help people via Zoom or I'm guessing other places.
Absolutely, yes. So I work virtually. Most of my work is virtual now. And guess what? Most people are communicating virtually. It's opened up the world, but we need to make sure that you make an impact. I work with people either on a speech or a presentation, or there are programs that I do with individuals. So there is a program that I'm starting in January that is a mastermind program for 6 sessions, and we're working on all sides, all parts of the Superstar Communicator methodology, and then meeting up for the final session. Still got 2 places left for that. I also go into organisations. So it might be that I work on presentation skills or having more effective meeting skills. I have done some major research funded by Hertfordshire County Council on the impact of communication overload. You know, you've got your email pinging, you've got WhatsApp, you've got messaging, all of those things, and it has a negative impact on productivity and also people's well-being. So I work with some organisations such as professional services organisations on how they can make that more effective. How can they create a internal communication system that will work for everybody? And I speak. So I speak at conferences, go for lunch and learn speeches to organisations. Would love to. Some of the listeners, you know, if you are looking for a speaker, always happy to come along.
So going back to the mastermind course then.
Yes.
So what would 6 weeks of that entail? Let's say I was a prospective client and I thought, oh, I fancy that. What would that entail just on a top level?
Yeah. So there are 5 sessions that are 1 hour, once a fortnight, so there's time to do homework. And we will work on everything from, like we talked about, the purpose, thinking about that, how to construct the content so it's absolutely lands really well. The preparation, because preparation is really important, practicing it, knowing who you're speaking to, all of those things. The performance side, so that is related to how you perform either online or face to face, so that you really make an impact and you're really engaging. And the voice, which I know you touched on with Obama, that his voice is really interesting to listen to,
So
and people want to.
why is President, and he's still a president, Obama, an interesting voice then? What makes his voice one of the ones that people look at and go, that's how you do it?
His voice, there is no tension in the voice. You don't feel that he's sort of putting it on. It's completely natural. It's as though he's speaking to you right next to you in a room. He's got that ability to make you feel that you're special, because there's no overtone with the voice, but he speaks at a speed that everybody can understand. He emphasizes with the voice, but also with his hands. We talked about hands earlier on, that he uses that, and he is able to gauge and bring people in. So 3 tips I would have from him are that he's vocally very relaxed. He speaks at a speed that is very clear for everybody, because not everybody speaks English as their native language. And finally, that his facial expressions and his gestures match what he says, so it adds to the impact.
So he's simply very clear.
He is, but he's clear not just with the words, it's how he says it.
Okay, so without going politically in any way, we're just purely analysing somebody's voices. You probably are going to guess where I'm going to go next.
Yeah.
So we've got President Obama. Let's look at the current president of the United States of America, President Trump. What's he like then?
There is something, something very naughty watching him. I'm fascinated by the way that he rambles on, and he goes from one thing to another, and it's almost compelling watching him, because it's utter nonsense in my opinion, because he never lands anything, but he's clever enough to create some little phrases that stick, and then he repeats that.
He's a fascinating character for me.
Yes.
You know, whether you agree or disagree with anything he's done or not done, that's not for this conversation.
Yeah.
I do get fascinated in how he actually gets things done, though, whether it's done in the right way or choosing the right thing to do. But he is a businessman that basically has said, I want to do it like this, so therefore I'm doing it like that.
Yeah, and you have to admire him for that. You know, steering from the fact that how he does it might not land with our values. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's a fascinating person. Now, going on to the virtual world then, because, you know, back in COVID times, we found out all about Zoom. I didn't know about Zoom beforehand, but Zoom is great for me. It's enabling us to talk right now very clearly on the radio. So it's, for the environment, it meant you didn't have to travel into Bath, and we have the same conversation to a large degree, which is great. But what's kind of best practices via Zoom then?
A really, really good question. We had a tech spec beforehand. We checked the sound. Also, lighting is really good, because you want to make sure that your face is clear. Now, I could switch on my light if I wanted to, but it wasn't necessary for this. Also, your background, you will see that I've got lots of things for those people listening. I've got lots of cards in the background. There is some research, in fact, by a professor at Durham University, that in fact plastic flowers, green flowers, are the best things, the best things to have in the background, because it builds up trust. But really making sure that your face can be seen, because it's your facial expressions that are going to be the most impactful to match what you say when you're virtual.
And what about how close or far away from the camera you should be? Now, here in the studio, we've got, you're quite a long way away from me because of the setup of the studio. But most people, when they're talking on Zoom, have their laptop on their table and they're sat a certain distance away. Is there kind of a right amount you should be away from your laptop?
I think that you should look at your laptop and your image. So if I came in like this...
For the benefit of the
so
tape,
for
she's
those
much
people-
closer.
Yeah, you're cutting off part of my face. This, you can see my face, you can see the fact that my shoulders are down, you can see my hands if I need to show those. That's, for me, is an optimum place. So really, you might want to move your laptop slightly further back so that you've got your head and perhaps to the top of your chest.
Yeah. It's almost like a passport photo, isn't it?
It is.
It's kind of...
But if you think of presenters on the television, this is what they would do.
Yeah, they'd look about that amount, wouldn't they?
Yes.
And then just last part on this section is if somebody's using their phone to do kind of promos, because I've seen this quite a lot, and that they use their phone and they're so close to their phone, I always feel like they're jumping out the phone at me. I might just back off a little bit.
Yes. Get a selfie stick. You can get some that you can actually activate from there if you connect it to your phone, and it gives a little bit more space.
Okay, brilliant. Now, you've chosen the next one. We're going down the Wham route, and you're going to wake me up before you go, says in a true smashy and nicey way. Why this track?
Do you know, it's such joy. Again, back to my youth, bopping around to this. But I absolutely adore both of them. And the late George Michael was the most fantastic musician, and his voice was glorious.
Indeed. Love this track. Back with Susan for the last part, right after this.
Jitterbug. You put the boom boom into my heart. You send my soul sky high when your loving starts. A jitterbug into my brain. It goes to bang, bang, bang till my feet do the same. But something's bugging, something ain't right. My best
Time
friend
for the last section now. It's Richard Beauvoisin here. Charlotte up next on Radio Bath today. My guest today is Susan Heaton-Wright. And we're talking all about communications now. I've had an update from my wife about which college she went to at Durham. She both went to Durham University, and she said she went to Collingwood College.
Oh my God.
And it was the Teikyo Uni Japanese Centre. There we go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, when I was there, which I was probably there slightly earlier, Collingwood was the really sophisticated college.
Was it?
Now, I was at Hillbede.
Hillbede.
I'm sure she'll have a thought about Hillbede.
Okay,
There's a
I'll message her
going
now.
on.
At Hillbede.
St. Hild and St. Bede.
Okay, there we go. Right, it's highly entertaining radio there. Me messaging my wife that you went to a different college. Oh, there we go. Now, going back to your course that you've got coming up in January, we kind of
Yes.
touched on it very quickly. Just very quickly, at a high level, just say what each of the bits are.
Well, we have 5 sessions with a workbook. So there are 5 sessions live. We'll have a WhatsApp group, and there are exercises for people to do, and a section for if they work in an organisation that they can present to the other people in their team what they've learned as part of their experience. It's a give back to the company. Then the final session, we come face to face, although I've got a couple of people that are from the States, so that will be hybrid, and we'll be presenting to each other next steps and celebrate what we have achieved in improving our communication for all of those different business conversations.
I'm going to make a wild guess that it's not free.
No, it isn't free.
No. And if somebody did want to get in contact with you and they're interested in doing it, how would they do that, Susan?
You could go via my website, which is superstarcommunicator.com, or you are very welcome to email me at hello@superstarcommunicator.com.
Lovely. Now, you mentioned, just when we were chatting off air, you've got 5 voices, or we have 5
Yes.
voices. What do you mean by that, then?
Well, there are, in different situations, we might need, we all have our natural persona, but we might need to modify it for specific audiences. So I know you were talking earlier on about doing the charity auctioneering, and you know that there will be a particular audience that you might adopt a slightly different persona than another one that might not be your natural voice. So there are 5 that I've identified that could deal with different types of characters. So I know that if I speak to accountants, for example, I know that they will be very detailed people, that they will want lots of figures, they'll want lots of data and evidence. And so I will modify my persona and my way of presenting to them and the content based on that. Likewise, someone who's possibly more creative, like an architect, that they are big picture, they're thinking in large terms, I will modify some of the language that I use and possibly tone of voice with that.
Okay, so that's 2. What are the other 3?
And the other 3 are the cook. Now they have lots of ingredients. They're going to be detailed people as well, and they're going to be quite precise. So I would need to make sure that I had got some fixed ways of having that conversation, almost like a checklist. Then we've got the diva, and they're going to be larger than life, and it's all going to be, exuberant and extrovert. And whilst I'm not extrovert, I would be able to feed into that energy and have the courage to take the space up in those conversations, because it isn't always easy to butt in when those people are in absolute flow, and yet we've got a right to speak. And the final one is the Dalai Lama, of which I would say that a perfect example is Obama, as that in fact, by your presence and the way that you speak, you're able to command other people to listen and respect you.
Okay, so now I've got the most awkward question that you may have had today so far. Out of each of those 5, which one am I?
Do you know, I think that you're a diver.
A diver? Or a diva?
Yeah. No, a diver.
Oh, a diver. Okay, I thought you said a diva.
No, you check everything.
Okay.
I didn't mention about the diver.
You didn't?
The
No,
diver,
that's why I'm confused.
You are checking everything, aren't you? So you are checking with them as well. Is that okay? So it might be that you are speaking to engineers, for example, and they will want to have those checks in place. And throughout this session, for those people that can't see us, Richard has been checking the sound levels all the way through, checking that we've got a certain number of minutes. And maybe you're taking in that persona at this stage for this particular role, which is a perfect example. But that's what I see at this time.
Okay. I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing. Who knows? But it seems to be going well.
All of them are great. They all have a place in the world.
Okay. And you literally will amend what you're doing depending on who you are with then?
Yes. So when the purpose, the first part of the methodology, I'm thinking about who I'm speaking to. So I will be thinking about the language I need to use, the case studies, the examples, how long it is. So, you know, there are some people, as we know, that have got an attention span of 30 seconds. So particularly for senior leadership, we need to make it really, really concise in order to it to land. So I'm really thinking about that every time.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, one of the things which I've been told that I'm very good at is taking a lot of information in and summarising it into one sentence.
Yes.
And I'm head of my company, and I suppose that's kind of because that's what I require. My daughter the other day, she said she was looking at my WhatsApp message, which was, in a group kind of setting, and she went, "You only seem to be on there like twice, and everybody else is like going blah, 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 blah." I'm like, yes, because they're all doing kind of saying everything, and then I go, "This is what we're doing," because that's my role.
Absolutely. And so you understand when I say talking to senior leadership, if you make it concise, it's going to make more impact.
Yeah, the last thing senior leaders want is somebody rabbiting on for 4 hours about something that could have been said in 4 minutes. In fact, I was listening to a book the other day that I got the concept in the first 5 minutes, and it's an 11-hour audio book.
Oh, God.
And I'm thinking, what are they saying for the other 10 hours and 55 minutes? I've stopped listening.
Have you ever come across Blinkist?
I haven't, no.
And they
Blinkist.
are summaries of books.
Okay.
In 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh.
I do every day. And yes, you can either listen to it or read it. I listen to it. So all of those main points are summarised in that time. That might be for you.
Fabulous. Well, that's what, again, shoehorning his book in here, that's what my book is all about. My book's called Who Are You to Give Me Advice? I've been giving advice for 25 years, so I thought I'd write a book about it. But each chapter is about 2 to 3 pages long, and it's effectively a summary. So like the Chimp Paradox, which is a 300-page book, I've got down to 3 pages. Which just makes it achievable for everybody, is the plan. But there's lots of my own work in there as well. I haven't just taken everybody else's work out there as well and just used that. Now, AI is something which I talk a lot about on this programme. I have the wonderful Ben come in every few months and we chat about AI. And it seems to come up in more and more in conversations and more in everyday life. So how does AI affect you?
We can be frightened by it, of course. I use it. I will use it to ask for a framework for a blog, a framework for a speech, a framework for a course, and then I will put it in myself. But it's all about training up your AI and also giving the right prompts. Now, for listeners, you won't know that my AI app came in with me to Zoom. And I use that a lot if I'm coaching, because that does a transcription of the coaching session and then analyzes it with the main learning points for the client. I mean, that's brilliant. My client and I don't need to take notes. We can be in real time. But there was a quote that somebody said recently, because I went to a conference 2 weeks ago within the pharmaceutical industry. And basically it said, we should be, people who don't use AI should be afraid that humans who use AI are going to be very powerful.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. It's kind of happening behind the scenes, and that's a strange thing, is that 99% of people have no idea what's actually happening with AI at the moment. They just think it's something you can type in a question like Google effectively and it will give you an answer, but it's a lot more than that. Yeah,
and you have to train up your AI. I use ChatGPT.
Do you have a name? Do you have a name for Chatty?
I don't, which is unusual. I've got a name for most things, but I mean, it knows all about my business now because I have trained it up.
Yeah. And again, people just don't realise that. And I think the bit where I notice the difference is if I now ask Siri or Alexa a question, it often comes up with complete gobbledygook.
Yes.
I then go on to ChatGPT and I'll just ramble on and it will come up with the exact answer. It's just a hugely amount better. Now, one of the final questions I've got for you is, and this is me opening up to the world a little bit, I suppose, is that I do present for a living. You know, whether I'm
Yes.
on stage, whether I'm charity auctioneering, on the radio, writing my book is a different way of presenting. What tip would you give me as a presenter then?
Okay, I absolutely adore your voice, and I love your personality, that your character that comes across on stage. Be careful of your voice because it sounds a little bit tired today, and I say that respectfully. It sounds a little bit tired, so make sure that you are drinking plenty of water. You know, it takes up to 2 hours to absorb water in your body, and one of the areas that really suffers if you're dehydrated are your vocal folds.
Okay.
And that's when you get, you get more mucus around there because it's protecting the vocal folds. So that, my number one tip is related to keeping hydrated, particularly if you're on stage. You know, from being a performer, as a dancer, the lights, you sweat under them, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're feeling dehydrated when you go on, just slurping some water there and then won't make a difference. So make sure that will make a huge difference.
So
to
be
you.
hydrated a couple of hours before, basically.
Yes.
That's a great tip because it's, we've run out of time sadly, but it's something which I realised when getting to the age of 50, I wasn't drinking enough water. So I now have an Air Up bottle, and I now have a soda stream. So I have sparkling water, and I now drink a lot more water than I ever used to. But yes, you're absolutely right. My voice is tired today. I'm quite tired. I've had a long week. I've been working 18-hour days all week. So you're absolutely right. My voice is slightly tired today, but I'll survive. As I said earlier, no one's died.
No one's died, and I hope you didn't take it personally.
No, it's a brilliant tip, and you're absolutely correct. No, I asked for feedback, and you gave it, and it was perfectly done. Susan, remind everybody if they want to get in contact with you, how they can do it.
My website is superstarcommunicator.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. There's only one Susan Heaton-Wright, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Lovely. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Oh, I've had a whale of a time. Thank you so much, Richard, and good luck with your book.
Thank you very much. Charlotte's up next. I'm back next week with Paralympic competitor Ian Rose. Really looking forward to chatting to him. If you missed any of this, then do type in Radio Fast to any podcast provider, and I'll see you again next week. Have a fantastic time.